Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I saw the best video yesterday from RawBeautyKristi. She posted a video of her makeup comparison from 2015 to now in 2019, and I thought that was like the best video. I loved seeing like her do her makeup, like what she used to think looked good to versus what she does now, and just her looking back on that and thinking, like, you could tell she was just like, what was I thinking? And that's exactly how I feel about my makeup back in 2012, kind of when I really started making a lot of YouTube videos, and on my old channel Risa777, if any of you guys remember that. So I thought it'd be fun to do a comparison, and this is my 2012 face versus 2019 and now. I hope you guys enjoy the video. This really took me down memory lane, so go ahead and just keep watching. And I'm picking 2012 because that's when I kind of started my YouTube channel. I think it was before that, but that's kind of when like I really started getting into making videos. And on my old channel Risa777, I really had like a signature look, and looking back at that now, and when I see old videos like pop up, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is just like how my views of makeup have changed. It's so funny to me. So I'm really going to be taking a trip down memory lane. I can remember clearly what products I used to use and how I use them. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Today is Saturday. I'm just kind of hanging around the house, cleaning, hanging out with the dogs, and I'm by myself right now. That's probably going to change soon. I'm sure people are going to be coming in. Hopefully it won't be too interruptive, but we'll just go ahead and try it out. So I'm going to be using a primer that I used back in 2012. This is the Smashbox Studio Finish Primer Light, and I loved this back then. I remember just loving it so much because it was like kind of like a light moisturizer, and it didn't make my skin super oily or anything like that. I'm not sure if it did much because I don't really wear a primer now, but we're just gonna put what I used. This is the Australian Gold Mineral Sunscreen with SPF 50. My dogs got a hold of this and chewed on the corner, so it's weird, but I'm not gonna throw the product away. This is good because it also kind of acts like a primer. It's skin colored, and I like it because it does really control my oil and provides a good primer and sunscreen. That's like 3-in-1. It's not very moisturizing at all, so I do apply moisturizer underneath, but it's really good and really inexpensive. Okay, so for foundation, back in 2012, I was super tan. I didn't go tanning a lot, but I used a lot of self tanner, and I did like go tanning like maybe once every couple of weeks or so. And I used the Foundation Studio Fix Fluid. This is a little bit darker, but I really want to get the whole effect of what I used and how I looked. So I'm gonna just bring it down to my neck so it matches. And back then I used a kabuki brush like this from Sigma. So let's shake this up. It's been a while since I've used this foundation. I also have NC30 here, which I think is like the true color that I used to use. But I don't know if I want to go too dark. I also used the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation back then in the shade Tawny, which is quite a bit darker than what I use now. This actually doesn't look that bad. I thought it would be a lot darker. But we'll see how this turns out. So I'm bringing it down. I really back then wanted to be super tan. I don't know why, that was just really in then. And I didn't put any on my eyelids because I wanted that to stay super light. And on my right side, I'm going to be using a sponge, which is what I use now, and my foundation, which is the Double Wear Foundation in Sand. And as you can see, my neck is always just lighter than my face, so I really try to just match that. I have a lot of like redness in my face, so this evens that out. And I feel like I use a lot less product now. Like with a brush, I feel like it really just like makes your foundation like kind of thicker. With a sponge, I feel like it's just lighter. And I do go over my eyes. And that's the difference. Okay, so back then I used the Pro Longwear Concealer. This is in the shade NC25. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of this. I use this underneath my eyes. And I'm pretty sure I just used my finger. And then I would take it and use it to conceal anything else that I had. I still do love this concealer though, by the way. I'm just not using it at this very moment, but it is still like one of my favorites. Okay, so concealer on the right side. I'm just going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape. This is not like my favorite by any means, but I'm just using it up and it's been what I've been using. So I'm going to use this as an eye primer and as my under eye concealer. And I'm going to use my sponge to blend it out. I had so much fun making videos back in 2012. Like, I made so many good friends. I don't talk to everybody that I did back then, but I do have like a few that like I kind of keep in touch with. But it was so much fun back then. Like, it was a lot different from how YouTube is now. I really, really miss all of like the friendships that I made back then. Okay, so for primer on this side, what I used to use is NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk. I know a lot of you guys are gonna remember this. I'm just gonna put it on my finger to warm it up and just put it on. Back then, I probably just went in with it, but I really wanted to focus on the inner corner and like my eyelid, and then also I would take some underneath my eyebrow because I wanted to keep those areas really highlighted. I look at this now and I'm like, what really was I thinking? I don't know if other people were doing this, but that's just what I did. Okay, so what I would do then is take like a really light or white powder. I'm just gonna use, actually, this isn't what I used back then, but I'm just gonna take like this white from the Kat Von D palette and just go over that. I'd go over the whole eyelid with that so that everything would blend out better. And as you can see, there's like a real contrast between my skin and my eye base. On this side, I'm just gonna be taking like a mix of this like yellowy and lighter shade and just take it all over the lid. I still do set my eye base because I do feel like it helps blend better. I just don't use as light of a shade. Okay, so for eyebrows back then, I used an eyeshadow, and this is what I used. It's called Coquette from MAC, and as you can see, I mean, this has really like been beat up because that's what I used for my eyebrows. And I'm gonna take the same eyeshadow or eyebrow pencil. I can't speak today. I'm gonna take the same angled brush to fill in my eyebrows. And I just had it, here it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in with this, and my eyebrows were really like defined, so just gonna brush these out. They were really defined, so I would just like line the top eyebrow, and I did a little bit different shape. It was just more straight, which this is actually a really good color for my eyebrows, but they were just very defined. I hope I can replicate that. And then I would line the bottom. Right now I feel like I have a little bit more curve, and then I would really just like mark that. Like I wanted that to be super pointy for some reason. So it's pretty much like that. I feel like they were a little bit thinner back then. I've let them like kind of grow a little bit thicker now. But that is pretty much it. I almost feel like even doing it now, it looks better for some reason, maybe just more experience, but that's what it was. I'm gonna wipe off my brush and then use what I'm using now, and that's the Anastasia Beverly Hills in Taupe. And I use just very little product and just kind of fill in any sparse areas. And they're still the same shape pretty much, except for I do like to round this part a little bit more. So how that's a little bit more round and that's a little bit more like angular. That's one thing that I do different. And then here I just kind of go over lightly the beginning of my eyebrow, or the inner part of my eyebrow. And that's pretty much what I do for my eyebrows. I'm going to just brush these out a little bit, and a little bit of a difference. Looks much softer on this side to me. Okay, now for eyeshadow. So I did use a lot of like cooler shadows back then, like a lot of grays and browns, still kind of neutral, but a lot more like cooler, like gray tones. And one of the eyeshadows that I really loved back then was Scene. So I'm gonna be using that. This is just like a gray. It's kind of like a blue toned gray. And I would use my MAC 217 brush, and I would put this in the outer corner and just blend it in on my lash line, and then just kind of work it up into the crease. Oh my gosh, memories are coming back, you guys. And I didn't really bring it in very much. Like I really kind of kept it on the outer corner. And then another color that I really loved a lot was Smut. Like I loved this color. This is what it looks like. And it's kind of like, has a little bit of shimmer in it. It's supposed to be like a gray with like red flakes in it. But I put this on the outer corner, and then I kind of like took it up at the end like that, really concentrating on the outer corner and then bringing it up into the crease like that. I loved this color so much. And then I think I brought it down on my lower lash line a tiny bit, but not much, and it was just really focused on the outer corner. And then for the inner corner, I would use a super bright like highlight, and this is Nylon from MAC. I used to use this a ton, and I would just use a pencil brush so that I could like really concentrate it, and it would be just like super, like just pop. And that's pretty much it. Don't think I used a highlight on my brow. I think I just kind of really focused on that inner corner pop that was so popular back then. And for my liner, I used a gel liner. They don't make the liner that I used to use, which was the L'Oreal Infallible Lacquer Liner. That was like the best. And so I'm just gonna be using another one that I have. This is the Smashbox Black Liner, and I used a really like big eyeliner brush, and this one's the Sigma E05. That's what I used. So I'm just going to dip that. And apply my eyeliner. So I did a winged liner back then also. I still do that, but it was just a lot thicker. And I think I kind of curved it. Like there was like a kind of curve like that. Almost like rounded. And 2012, I think, is when I switched from using like a black pencil on my waterline to a light like skin color. So I think I'm gonna go with a skin color, because I think I was using the what was it? It was a Stila waterline. So I'm gonna be using the Tarte Fake Awake because it's pretty much the same thing. I was thinking about going with the darker one, but I think in 2012 is when I switched to the lighter. Okay, so I'm going to just curl my lashes. I think I just barely started curling my lashes then also. And then applying a mascara. Probably the same mascara that I'm using now, which is the L'Oreal Voluminous. I think that's kind of around when I started using that. And just really coat the lashes. Spider lashes were really in then. Like just wearing like tons of mascara. I'm gonna have to clean that up in a second. Okay, so on this eye, which is what I'm using now, I'm just gonna take a big fluffy brush, a 224 from MAC, and I'm gonna go in with, let's see, where are the shades that I've been using lately? I'm just gonna use the Anastasia Beverly Hill palette and go in with Buon Fresco and a little bit of Burnt Orange. And just take that in the crease and just make sure it's really well blended, just to create a little bit of depth. And then I'm I'm gonna take a little bit on my pencil brush and just take it underneath. And then just kind of blend it into my lash line. And that's pretty much it. For my inner corner, I'm going to use, let's see here. Sometimes I'll use my highlighter, the Soft and Gentle from MAC, or something like this from this palette, this shimmery shade. And I use a big brush now for this, and I just kind of like blend it out. So it's like barely shimmery on the inner corner. And then just bring it over, blend it out. And that's pretty much it. I do use a liner, but now I use like a liquid liner, and this is the one from e.l.f. And I use a much thinner line now. And I just line the top lash line. I try to get the wing pretty thin, but sometimes I have to fix it and it makes it a little bit thicker. Let that dry for a few minutes. And then I curl my lashes. I'm gonna use that same waterline brightener and line my waterline. And then add some mascara. So, using the same mascara because that's pretty much what I use. Although now I layer mascaras and I use one, I usually use this one as my base coat, top and bottom. Oops. Yikes. And then I go in with another mascara. I've been using this one, which is the L'Oreal Lash Paradise. And my lashes are just much more like fluffy looking. Just let that dry. Okay, so moving on to blush. Now back in 2012, like my blush and lipstick went hand in hand. Like I pretty much looked for like the brightest pink I could find. And this one was one that I used a ton. It has like a huge divot in it. It might even be my second one. Gosh, what was this called? I'm gonna have to put whatever it's called in the description box because, oh, it's called Pink Swoon. That's what it is. And I would just take this and put it on the apples of my cheeks and then blend it upward. Wow, this is bringing back so many memories, you guys. So many. And that's kind of what it looks like. It kind of looks pretty. It's more of like a doll type of look. I think this whole look on this side is looking sort of like that, like dollish look. But that's what I use for blush. On this side, I'm gonna be using kind of like a lighter, more peachy, natural blush. And this is called Paarty from Tarte. Wiping off my brush a little bit. And I kind of focus now more on like the back of my cheeks up here and then just blend it like on my cheeks like that. So the placement is completely different on how I apply my blush, as you can see. Okay, so moving on to contour. Back then I loved Hoola bronzer and I still do love this, but I think I was watching a video today, I went through like my second box, and it was like in September of 2012. So I'm just gonna take this and contour my face with this. I used a lot of bronzer back then for my contour. Like, I really wanted to slim my face. I think I was a little bit heavier then, and I really wanted to contour everything. So kind of like gave me a little bit more of a tan and contour. Okay, so today what I'm using is a lot lighter, and this is just a blush from MAC called Prizm. It's kind of like a taupey brown with a little bit of a pink to it. And I lightly contour. So this is the progress so far. Okay, highlighter. Back then I looked for like the most like brightest like icy highlighter, and this was one that I loved back then. It's the Mary Luminizer from the Balm, and I used like a brush like this, which is very dense, and I would just pack that on pretty much right there. I think that's the only place I would put highlighter. Just right there. And it would just, my highlight would just always be just like super bright and white. And then now my highlighter is MAC Soft and Gentle. I hated this highlighter back then. I thought like, I don't know why people love this highlighter, but I like it now because it's like more natural looking and softer. So I'm just gonna take a bigger, kind of fluffier brush and just highlight my cheeks, highlight my nose, right here, my upper lip, a little bit on my forehead, a little bit on my chin, and just, I'm gonna take a big big brush and just blend that out. Okay. And for lipstick, like I said, I'd either go for like a really bright pink lipstick, which is like, was like one of my signature looks, or I would use Myth from MAC, which is like a nude. This was my favorite. Like, Myth was my jam. It like sort of just made my lips look like my skin, and I would either just wear that, or I would add a liner, and the one that I loved back then was called Dervish. I know I brought it up here. I just had it, here it is. So it was Dervish, and I would just line my lips. Like that. Seriously, that's so weird seeing me like that. So funny. Okay, and then what I'm using now is I use NYX Lingerie, so I guess this is kind of similar. It is still like a nude shade, but it has a lot more like peach in it. Like this side I just feel looks kind of gray. So sorry for the snoring, you guys. It's my dogs. I don't even notice it anymore. It's probably been happening for a while. And then I use, I've been using like Boldly Bare or this one, it's called Edge to Edge from MAC. I'll just use the Edge to Edge. It's more of a pinky liner. And I blend it out. I really didn't blend my liner back then. So that's the difference. And then back then I think I used Underage lip gloss, which I don't think I have it right here. I'm gonna have to go get that. But now I'm using Forbidden from Bare Minerals, and I just use a tiny bit of it. Okay, so I have Underage here. This is just like a really pale lip gloss. And I would put that over that. So this is 2012. And this is now in 2019. Do you guys see the difference? It is a trip to look at this makeup because I really do remember like doing my makeup like this, and that, I don't know, maybe it was like the style then, not really sure, but that's it. That is my comparison. What do you guys think? Do you remember when I did my makeup like this? Like, I'm kind of embarrassed now. Is there a difference? Which side do you guys like better? I mean, I guess this side would be kind of good for like a night out or something like that. But I just remember like having that really stark white, like brow highlight and inner corner highlight, and that's pretty much what I did. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had so much fun doing this. It really took me down memory lane. Like, I remember so vividly how I did my makeup and what I thought looked good then. And now I think I just like prefer a more like natural look, lighter makeup, definitely not as tan. I was like super tan back then. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys real